everybody. Good evening. My name is Alan, and on behalf of the crew of the show, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, we're taping the show live in the Santa Barbara, Southern California area, December 18th, the night of December 18th, 1998. And what should be the season of joy and reconciliation and peace and love is just not turning into that. A lot of places around the world, and even in some ways in the United States of America where we are taping. I mean, today what happened was we had the beginnings of the impeachment hearings for President Clinton. And while we were having the impeachment hearings for President Clinton, we were bombing Iraq from ships and from planes, thousands of miles above and into the sea, just lobbing these 2,000 pounds, I don't know, maybe that's a ton, I can never get the numbers right, lobbing these bombs and just blowing up maybe military installations, maybe weapons of mass destruction facilities, but certainly injuring people, certainly injuring that connection between peoples. What is going on with us? What do humans need to do to bridge that gap, to leave the hate, to leave the disagreement, to leave that feeling of separation, that feeling of that this person's being what they are is hurting me, is injuring me, is causing my cause not to have the experience or my people to have the experience. In this impeachment hearing, what is all that ugliness? What is all that hate about? What is going on with us? And for all of us, I mean, maybe it won't happen in that way. Maybe it won't happen for the leaders of our country. But I know that it's time for us as individual people walking this earth to take that step, to take that next step. Let's use this next year. Let's use tomorrow. Let's use every minute from now on to bring us closer into that love, to bridge that gap. There is no gap. We are all the same. When are we going to experience that? And for me, it's about time. It's about time that we took that step and did whatever it took to bring us into that love. And the people we have with us tonight, the guests we have, I mean, that's what their life's work is to bring that love, to, in whatever way possible, to expand people's experience of that oneness, of that connectedness. And we're just honored to have them with us tonight. We have Alan Mesher, who's a spiritual teacher, a healer, an author. He's written over the last number of years, he's written 2 books, one, Journey of Love, and the new book, T-Zone, which is really starting to pick up interest and inspiration all across the country. And we're honored to have Alan with us tonight to talk about the book and to talk about his experiences of coming into more love, coming into more inspiration. And then we also have with us Michael Stillwater, who's an internationally acclaimed musical artist, who once again brings his gift of voice, of music, of the written word, into healing the planet, into healing us individually. When you hear his music, you will know. I mean, probably a lot of you have. I mean, his CD, Rocked in the Cradle, has been, you know, internationally acclaimed as being an extraordinary healing album. And we also have tonight pictures from a fan, a particular fan of Michael's, Barbara Steinberg, who is a watercolor artist in Maui. And she's helping us get on in Maui. I mean, I've talked to you about all the cities we're in, but we are starting in Maui in January of 1999. I think the first show is January 6th. I think we're going to be on the Big Island a little after that. We're going to be on in San Diego pretty soon, and I think Boston, Boulder, and Chicago are coming up. So we're just excited about bringing you this connection, bringing you this love. But please, all of us, let's take this next step. Whatever we experience, let's take it to the next level. Let's allow that love to flow. We have to end this craziness. It's just too stupid. It's too ugly and too stupid. So please, to get this show started, please join me in a short meditation, and then we'll have Michael and Alan with us. Thank you. Thank you. The first song with Michael Stillwater will be Forbidden City of the Heart. It's written and performed by Michael, and it's from his CD, Rocked in the Cradle. So whenever you're ready, Michael, please.
This song is for all those children who have lost their connection with their fathers. Even fathers who are living with them and yet haven't found a way to express their love, haven't found the way to get past the blocks, the patterns, the fears of living with an open heart. I sing this song to my father, who died 5 years ago. He was born in China in 1920 and could never remember his childhood. So this song is an ode to those memories and inviting him outside of the wall of his heart, and it's an invitation to me and to you as well.
Wall of China surrounded you from the very start. With memories entwined and so confounded you that you made a forbidden city of your heart. Born outside of Peking 13 years ago. All your life was seeking something more than even you seem to know. I wanted to know you as a little boy, when dragons flew patterns through your sky. Bright colored paper lanterns lit you up with joy. Firecrackers danced before your eyes. The Great Wall of China surrounded you from the very start. With memories unwind and so confounded you that you made a forbidden city of your heart. How could I even know you, though at times I tried to breach the wall that hid your heart from view? A barricade of twisted dreams that wrapped you deep inside. Did you ever hear a call to tunnel through? Say what makes us exactly what we turn out to be. One thing is certain, I know you wish that I would one day be free, to climb without a care above these red ramparts and fly beyond this dynasty of feeling apart as we are in the forbidden city of the heart. Forbidden city of the heart. forbidden city of the heart.
Hi, we're on the set with Alan. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
So actually, when I was reading your new book, The T-Zone, you had in there an interesting movement into the so-called spiritual path. You had graduated college and you were going to take a year off. Why don't you tell that story?
It's a funny story. I was going to take a year off from college. I couldn't make up my mind if I wanted to go to law school or get a PhD and become a college professor. So I went to the small town in New Hampshire, as luck would have it. I mean, I just ended up there, really.
As luck always has it.
As luck always has it. And I kept hearing stories about this older woman who had this incredible gift. And she would heal like all these people in the area, and she knew everything about everybody's life. She was very tuned in, remarkably so, highly detailed. So I was dying to meet her, and finally one day a friend of mine said he was going over. Did I want to go? Well, I wasn't going to say no, was I?
The way you wrote in the book is he didn't even invite you, just got in the car.
I just got in the car. I was ready to go. You know, he had to take me. I was like the dog in the car. He was going for the trip. So we got to her house, and she was a small little lady with these big, dark, cold, shiny eyes, brilliant shining eyes. And she came to the front door. It was cold out. It was just before Christmas, this time of year. Wow. But it was cold in New Hampshire in those days. Very
colder
cold.
Than Santa Barbara.
Much
where
colder.
it was 80 today.
But anyway, she came to the door and she said, "Oh, hello, and would you please come in?" And shook my hand and took me into her study and said, "Can I read you and talk to you for a little bit?" And I said, "Oh, please do, please do." And she's looked at me.
Did you have any background in
No.
any kind of thing like that? But you were drawn to her.
Drawn to her like a bee to honey. Really drawn to her. And so she looked at my hand and started telling me all these things about my life and what happened to me when I was 4 years old. It was quite remarkable, and she put it in a context so I would understand why it had happened. I mean,
But the accuracy was unerring.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, very unerring. And then she held my hand and she put her hands around my hand and said, "You know, what I do, you will do. You're right behind me." And I said, I can't do this. She said, "Oh, yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, you can. You have the power within you." And she held my hand, and I felt this charge go into me, this incredible energy. It was heat, and it was electricity, and it filled up my body.
Wow.
And pretty soon I got very, very ecstatic. I mean, I was so turned on. And then I heard something pop in the center of my forehead, and the room filled with this brilliant golden light. Gold light everywhere. And where Eleanor, that was her name, where she was standing, I could hardly see her because it was just all gold light. And I was just totally off my head with this energy, with this ecstasy, and not quite knowing what to do with it. And she said, "What I do, you do. And you'll take it around the world. You'll take it farther than I have." And I said, "I don't think so. I'm going to go be a lawyer." And she said, "You can go be an attorney if you want, but that's not your destiny. But you can do it. It won't make you happy." So I went away and thought about it for about 3 weeks, and then I decided I'm going to go back there, and I did. And for 3 years I hung out with her. I never did make it to law school or to graduate school, but that's how my path began.
And how did it develop from there?
Well, I'd just grab everyone I could and work on them. And one of the first
And
things,
by working on them, you mean?
hands-on, laying on of hands, letting the energy, because she opened me up so that power that was in her could also flow through me. And I would just work on people. And one of the first and remarkable...
You mean as a healing tool? You
Yes.
would, and as you would do it, like any muscle, it was getting stronger and clearer and...
Well, it's a long process to get really, really good as a healer. You don't just get it overnight. You have to develop it. It takes years and years and years to get really, really good. But one of the first things that happened was my girlfriend and I were attending this little poodle for a lady that was away, and the poodle got bit by a St. Bernard in the diaphragm. And we rushed the poodle to the vet, and the vet looked at it and said, "It's been bitten in the diaphragm. The chances of it surviving are almost nil, but I'll stay up with it all night. We'll see what happens." At 10 o'clock that night, I said, "I'm not letting that poodle go down." So I went into meditation. I felt this tremendous energy pouring through me, and I just held my hands in front of me like this. And I just imagined that little poodle was right between my hands. And I could feel this energy.
And you weren't in this, the poodle wasn't there.
No,
this was a remote...
The poodle was many miles away from me, but I could feel that poodle's astral body or etheric body coming right between my hands, and I could feel that charge go into that body, and enormous energy was pouring through. It lasted about 10 minutes, and then it stopped. And I said, "Well, that must be it." And the next morning we called the vet, and I said, how's the dog? And the vet said, at 10 after 10 last night, I was sitting with that dog, and right in front of my eyes, that hole sealed up. He said, that your dog is fine. Just don't let it run around for a couple of days. It's fine. Come and get it. And that was one of the first real miraculous healings that I'd ever done. I said, wow, she was right.
Wow. And how long was this after the first initial contact?
Oh, maybe a few months.
Oh, that soon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you stayed with her in an apprenticeship mode almost for like 3 more years?
For about 3 years. For 3 years. But, you know, even after that was over, I mean, I've been working on people now for about 25 years, and you keep getting more power as you go along the way. And people come in bunches, like I'd get a whole bunch of people with the same kind of problem. I remember there was a period of time where I kept getting these women that had been sexually abused or raped over and over and over again. They just kept coming in because the energy that I had at that time was for that kind of issue. And that, you know, and then I had an awful lot of people come to me that in other lifetimes had died in concentration camps in World War II. I had a whole bunch of them. I was doing a lot of people long distance, and they had that, and I had a lot of people that were coming to me in person that had that. And one lady that I started working on with lupus in Florida, she'd call me and she'd be in absolute agony. Her legs would be just inflamed with pain, and they'd be very swollen every morning when she woke up. So I started sending the healing power over the phone, and the legs, by the time we're done, the swelling would be gone, the pain would be gone. And after about 10 sessions, the lupus went into remission. But she came to a workshop that I was giving in Kansas City, and when I looked at her, I said, oh my God, how do you feel about World War II? And she said, I don't want to talk about World War II. I don't want to talk about it. I said, well, how do you feel about the concentration camps? And she went, oh, no, I don't want to talk about that. It's horrible. Oh, it's horrible. I don't want to talk about it. And I said, look, what happened to you was that you died in those camps. And the lupus you have in this lifetime is a result of that because it broke your will. And lupus is often a condition of a broken will. So she came into that workshop, she got on the table, and we had about 3 or 4 people working on that table, and they put the energy in, and when those people were cooking, their material, their inner karmic emotional material was coming up and ready to be dealt with, I'd pay attention, you know, and I'd go from table to table, and when the person was ready to break, I'd be there. And so she broke, and all of this stuff came pouring out of her, and it was about the concentration camps and what she endured and how she died and what she had to experience. And it was very, very intense for her for about an hour. She was yelling and screaming and burning up. Her clothing was soaking wet when she got, literally, it was as if she had stood in a shower for an hour. Her clothing was soaking wet. She was drop dead exhausted. But she cleared that whole experience. She got it out of the system. And that's what healing is about. It's about going.
And so she's never had lupus again. That's not because it's not part of her.
Well, yeah, the energy that would cause it, the residual karmic energy is gone. I mean, she cleared that trauma out of her system. Now, everybody has trauma in their systems. Why else would we be here if not to deal with that? And in many cases, the trauma runs our life. If we've been through a lot of difficult experiences, for instance, when we were young children, if we were emotionally malnourished or not nourished, if we were abused sexually or physically or emotionally or verbally, that gets in our system, it affects us. And one thing that happens,
even if we're not conscious of it, it just...
absolutely,
right.
Particularly if we're not conscious of it. What begins to develop is what I call the negative core self-image. We begin to believe that we're not good enough. We begin to believe that we're a mistake. We begin to believe that we can't succeed. And then we begin to develop an act to cover that over. I had a client who came to me, a wonderful, talented, brilliant guy. He was a gay man in L.A., Catholic. He grew up in a Catholic family. And his family,
a good one.
Oh, terrible, you know.
God, the guilt is like, I'm feeling guilty just listening to it.
Well, the guilt is horrible, and he felt that if he ever showed to his mother and father that side of him that he was gay, that he would die. So he stomped that down, he buried it, he killed his gay self as best he could, and lived a normal life, seemingly. Was incredibly successful in real estate, had 2 or 3 women that wanted to marry him, that were dying to marry him, but he wouldn't, do that. And then all of a sudden, at a certain point in time, his whole life blew up because he couldn't keep it down anymore. It blew up. And he went into deep rage and deep depression and alienated himself from everyone and became very, very suicidal. And that's when he found me on TV. And every time I'd work on him, I'd make him go into that place where all that pain was. And he said, no, I can't go there. And I said, you have to go there, because if you cannot confront your pain, you will never overcome your pain. And that's true for everybody. We have to learn to confront it. And that's the first lesson in spiritual development, is confront the unconscious parts of you that are holding you back. Everybody has
And
it.
how does someone get to the unconscious part? How does it become conscious?
Well, in the healing work that I do, I can only speak in terms of the way I address it, but when I work with people, there's a power that will come out of me. This light will go into their body, and it will evoke and bring up anything that's hidden in the body that has not been dealt with. Nothing can hide in the healing light. All of the dark elements of the unconscious will come up to be faced, accepted, and cleared. You have to clear it. So there are 4 phases of the healing process. First you have to find it. The light brings it up, it finds it. Then you have to face it. You have to accept responsibility for it. You have to turn towards it. And then you have to feel it. If you cannot be vulnerable to the pain that is buried in your system, you can never overcome it, and you can never be spiritual, no matter how much you might try. It's an act. It's another act. So you have to be willing to face it and feel it and let it all come out of your system, and sob out your grief and sob out your hurt and rage out your anger and get it all clear. And then when you cleared all that energy, then you can forgive it. But you can't forgive it until it's cleared. There's no forgiveness otherwise. And forgiveness means that you're detached from it. It's done. It doesn't mean that the person who caused you that harm is now able to come back into your life. You don't have to let the person into your life. Forgiveness means that you detach from that which has hurt you. Totally, completely, utterly. And when you're free, it has no more power over you. You have taken back your power. And then you can ascend higher on the scale of consciousness. And you can do things that are more positively based, like meditation practices, or prayer, or chanting, or service, or, and get into unconditional love. But all of the unconscious factors in the psyche that we do not address keep us stuck in a negative ego mode and keep us from being able to express unconditional love. That's why the world is the way it is.
Actually, let's talk about the negative ego. We'll do Michael. Michael's going to do a spontaneous healing song called Song Care. This is just something that he does. It just starts basically coming through him. And he's had tremendous success in the healing modality doing this. So we're going to have a healing song from Michael Stillwater whenever we're ready. Thank you.
So what I do is allow a song to come through in response to who I'm with. And I just trust it. I trust the process. I trust the words. So I just listen closely to what are the words to sing now, and I sing those words. And I'd like to offer a song now to you and ask if there's any theme that's going on in your life, or any place of focus that you'd like to have for this song.
I'd like a feeling of integration in my life, just a feeling of more wholeness with myself.
It sounds like something I think a lot of people could relate to. It's integration and wholeness. So as I sing, I just invite you to relax and let it touch you however it will.
If I trusted, if I let it be true, if I trusted, if I let it come through, I'm gonna find my way to the center of things, where my heart is whole, where my soul can sing, and I'll hear the song. It's in the wind of There's a part of me that knows just what to do. And if I listen and let it sing, I'll find my way to everything where I need to be, where I need to go, right here inside of me. Learn to let go. Let me learn to let go. Let me learn to let go. Let myself be exactly as I can see, right through the walls that kept me apart from you. Let me now, let me now see what's
Thank you. It's beautiful.
Did that speak to you?
Yeah, it is about trusting.
It seems to all come back to that.
Yeah.
Behind everything else, it's like learning how to trust, especially when we feel somehow either betrayed by someone outside us or betrayed by ourselves. That's the journey, is to come back to alignment and trust, accepting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, let it in. Exactly.
Thank you, Michael. That was beautiful. So we're back on the set with Alan. So why don't you just go into a little about what you would call negative ego and positive ego, and how a human being would go from, obviously one would be positive ego would be better than negative ego.
Sure. Well, negative ego, one of the keynotes of negative ego is that it's very reactive. An event will happen, it will push a button inside you, and you will react in a habitual pattern because something happened to you much earlier in your life.
You're like a machine.
Yeah, you're very predictable. So when people have negative ego, they're very predictable. The same patterns will continue in their life over and over again, and they will attract the same thing into their life over and over again. Let me give you an example. I have a very good friend. He's a very brilliant man, a very successful entertainment lawyer in LA. His father was a doctor. His mother was a psychiatrist. His mother has an IQ that's off the board, and she's a very loving and wonderful woman. The father was a very narcissistic, competitive person who had no love inside him and no love to give, particularly to his children. He competed with everyone for every last piece of attention. He had to have all the attention. He never had a nice word to say about anybody. Now, this guy was wounded very deeply by his father's behavior. So what happens to him later in life when he goes to choose women to get involved with? He chooses women that resemble who? His mother? No, because he had a good relationship with his mother. With his father, because he did not have a good relationship with his father. The irony is...
And why would that be?
Because we always are attracted to what wounded us.
To try to fix it.
To try to fix it, and we never quite do. It just continues to wound us. So he married this really beautiful woman, of Danish descent, blonde, very beautiful, seemingly outgoing, highly intelligent. He thought he had everything. But then she turned around and became very much like his father, highly critical, withholding emotional affection, playing power games with him, competing for attention, the whole 9 yards. And it ended in divorce. He then went to Cannes for the film festival, this is a few years later, met a beautiful girl, dark-haired, olive-skinned, warm, outgoing, vivacious, brilliant, highly talented and gifted, and very loving. She came and spent some time with him in LA, then he went back and spent some time with her in Cannes, and it turned out that she was highly critical, distancing from him, emotionally unavailable, hostile, and just took. Wherever he turns, he finds the same thing. That's one manifestation of how these patterns work out in people's life. They'll play over and over and over again. And that's why so many people's relationships are problematic, is because they're not addressing the original wounding that occurred in their nuclear family when they were young children. So negative ego gets formed when we're very young by the patterns that occur generally in our development. And until we're willing to...
Is it a one lifetime experience, do you think? Or
No. And oftentimes what we've chosen to be born into and experience this lifetime
is like
it's a trigger.
Right.
It triggers what had happened before, because we've got to recreate it and re-experience it so that eventually and hopefully we can heal it and overcome it. But you can never overcome anything until you're willing to turn around and face it. You know, the first main process in the healing path, or the growth path, or a spiritual path, is to face the unconscious dilemmas that we all carry. Many people go into meditation as a vehicle for not only for spiritual development, but to overcome the negative elements in their unconscious, and it will never work. Because what happens when we meditate is that we raise our energy levels, so we distance ourselves even farther from the pain we carry. We feel good because we're up here, and we feel free. But sooner or later, the energy we take on in meditation will bring us back down to normal, and we'll start feeling all of this stuff again. So we don't have to move away from it to get high and whole. We have to move towards it. We have to engage it. Engagement is the key to transformation.
So you don't think there's a certain experience of like rubbing up against the magnet of the infinite or the transcendental, and that is like a healing process unto itself? And then you become more like that.
But before you're able to rub up against it, you have to be able to be open to take in what it's going to offer you. And therefore, you have to turn first and heal this stuff. Then the more you face it, the more you can take on. Look at it this way. This is a cup. It's filled with water. If I want to have a glass of wine, I got to empty the water. Your body is filled with darkness. If you want your body to be light, you have to empty the body of darkness. And the psychic and karmic material is not stored in some theoretical place or in your brain or in your mind. It's stored, this energy is blocked energy, and it's stored all over your body. And it's not only the energy of this lifetime, it's the energy of many lifetimes that your soul has brought back with you in this incarnation to work through. As we spoke before of the girl who had been killed in the concentration camps. You know, I've run into many people like that have had those lifetimes. I was working with a lady in New Jersey. I was in Texas. We're doing a long distance work. And I could see in her that there was a place that contained all the energy of an experience where she had died in the fires in the concentration camp. And I said to her, if I send some energy over the phone to this place in your back, I believe this will happen to you. And she said, oh, no. I didn't have that experience. That didn't happen. That wasn't it. I said, let's put some energy in there and let's see what happens. So I sent the energy out over the phone line, and I put it in that place, and I said, now you just make a little sound like to let that energy go in there. And she did. Before you knew it, she was screaming and burning up, because she was reliving what had happened to her before. She was clearing that horrible experience out of her system. You need to clear these things out of your system, because if you don't have access to your whole power. And one of the laws of consciousness is it takes all of your power to make the vertical ascent. That's why healing is so absolutely important. You've got to take back your power. So part of what she did is taking back her power from where it had been broken off and buried in her psyche, in her body. The other thing she did is that all the fear attached, all the subliminal subconscious fear attached to that left, and all the persecution complexes she has in this lifetime because of what happened in another lifetime have also gone. Now you tell me, was it worth it for me to push that button in her and make that happen? Was it worth it? You bet it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
of course
I'm sure she thinks so.
Well, it helped in her evolution. She couldn't evolve without moving beyond that
why don't
barrier.
you just, like, somebody calls you. How does the process work? I mean, what do you see? What do you experience? What exactly happens?
I've been working, I'll give you an example. The best way to answer that is give you an example. I've been working with a lady who's a depth psychologist in Santa Fe.
A what psychiatrist?
Depth psychologist, whatever that is.
That goes underwater to do it?
No. She works in deep level.
People?
Depth.
Depth.
Yeah, depth psychologist. And it's about working with the unhealed places in the unconscious mind. But she had been through an experience where she had attracted in this man into her life who had initially it seemed charming and sensitive and caring, but it turned out that he was like a black widow spider, used her, stole her money, was very abusive to her, and then went on to another woman. And it devastated her. It ripped her finances up. It caused tremendous chaos in her life. And she called me. She was all knotted up. She was in terrible pain, and she was wondering, what can she do? So the way I start with anybody is I put one hand under the base of the spine, my other hand under the base.
And this is remotely?
Yeah, under the base of their skull. And so what I'm doing is balancing their nervous system.
So you're seeing them in that way?
Yeah, and I'm sending energy into those points in their body, and they get real relaxed. And they get balanced, and that allows me to put that light in them, and it's like an X-ray. And then I can see clairvoyantly what's going on in their body and what the issues are that need to be addressed.
And do you see it visually?
Yeah,
or?
I see it visually. Yeah, generally visually. Sometimes I see it visually, sometimes I just know. In this particular woman's case, I could see tremendous blocked energy in the pelvis and in the ovaries, and she did have one ovary that was highly, highly inflamed. And so we started working, and I started sending the healing energy in there. And the first thing that happened is she just felt this incredible heat just going through. She couldn't believe the voltage running through her body. She didn't believe that was possible. And she just started burning up. And then she started screaming and screaming and raging and raging. And then the rage broke, and she started sobbing, which is where you want to get to, because that's the vulnerability coming out. That's a deep hidden pain that needs to be cleared. And that happened. So we spent a bunch of sessions clearing out all this blackness. And this man also...
All over the phone?
Yeah, and this man did like black magic on her. And it was heavy, heavy, heavy energy inside her. Black, black, black. And we cleared it out. And we cleared it out and we cleared it out. And then after we got that cleared up, all of a sudden the stuff started coming up about her mother. Because her mother was just like this man. The mother had never wanted her. The mother was always critical of her. The mother was always disparaging of her. The mother always tried to block her development and keep her from where she wanted to go. So the mother and the man were very similar. And there was a black energy attached with the mother too, because it was hate coming at the daughter. So we had to clear all that out. And when we got her all cleared out, she could feel the energy go in. She said it felt like silk. And she could feel flowers blooming in her body, particularly in her ovaries. And everything in her life changed. She had co-signed a note for this man. All of a sudden he paid it off. This house she wanted to sell that they had lived in, and it wasn't moving at all of a sudden it sold like that. Her son was accepted into a private school in Colorado, and she was able to leave Santa Fe, which is what she wanted to do. It all happened as soon as she was done healing. All of those three really good things popped into her life. So when you heal yourself, all the good that you could have begins falling into your life. And when you get all of these blocks,
so you would say it's like the wind is in your sails.
Yeah.
It just feels like that.
The wind is in your sails.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
So what prompted you to write this book? Now, the T-zone is the transformation zone, is describing this process, right?
Yeah, it's about the process of what transformation is. And I decided to write the book because I wanted to pass on what I had learned in 25 years in working with people. Very fundamental, deep, simple truths that if people were to use them and apply them, could really make a huge impact in their lives for the better.
And so why don't you describe, help this group out here, this group help. So what would be the first couple of things that you would suggest people who want to have more experience? What would you suggest they do?
Well, I would suggest they read the book. That's the first thing to do. I mean, and then the book will give you all sorts of ideas about what to do next. But I think that people need to rather, instead of running away from what's going on in their body, trying to divert themselves or deny what's going on, or go into practices like Tai Chi or yoga or meditation or anything like that. Those things are all positive and they're very good, but they're not going to heal your life. They're going to make you feel better. But feeling better and being centered and clear is far different from healing your life, because healing means that you get all the blockages out of your system. So whatever people can do to encounter and embrace the negative elements in their psyche will go a long way.
How do you suggest people do that if they're not talking to you or somebody just like you?
Well, the best thing they can do is talk to me or find somebody just like me. The second best thing they can do, for instance, is to watch movies in which themes of issues that they carry in their lives.
And how do they know that?
Well, sometimes if you've been abused, you're going to know it.
You're going to know it.
If you've been sexually abused, generally you know it, or you'll go to a movie and it'll have a lot of abuse in it and it will really hit you. And for some strange reason, you might just sit there and cry and cry and cry, or you might get so angry you don't know what to do with yourself, or you might get so depressed. And that is the trigger. That's telling you that what that theme that you viewed in the movie, that theme has a powerful effect in your life because it's the same thing that happened to you.
So whatever you really strongly react to, there's some charge to it. Or
Absolutely,
something.
big time, big time.
All right, you know, first of all, let me just remind people that if anybody wants any information about Alan and his work, or Michael and his CDs and where he's playing and anywhere around the world, please call me. It's Alan, 805-687-2053. And if people are watching this in the Santa Barbara area, December 18th, this weekend, Michael has a concert locally. So if you want any information about that, call me in Santa Barbara at 687-2053, and I'll give you whatever information you need about that. So, and now we're going to have, Michael's going to do his third song, which is called Turn to Me. Again, Michael has written this, and it's going to be performed by him, and it's from his CD, Rocked in the Cradle. So whenever we're ready, Michael, please.
Within your slumbering, you start to feel afraid. Dragons chase you down the mountainside. When everything's confusing and your hope begins to fade, look and see the night is over. I'm holding you. Turn to me, though it seems that I am gone. I am living in your heart, like the memory of this song. When even in your waking dream, the shadows start to fall, everywhere you look, there's something wrong. Told you once before that all you have to do is call, and I'll be waiting in your heart, like the memory of this song. Turn to me, though it seems that I am gone. I am living in your heart, like the memory of this song. I will comfort you in the night. Fly to me when you're afraid, it'll be alright. If ever there's a need you have this world cannot provide, a feeling all is emptiness in you, just close your eyes a moment and remember me inside, for I'm closer than you're breathing, and my love will guide you through. Turn to me, though it seems that I am gone. I am living in your heart, like the memory of this song. Turn to me, though it seems that I am gone. I am living in your heart, like the memory of this song. I am living in your heart, like the memory of this song. I'm living in your heart, like the memory of this song.
thank you, Michael. That was beautiful. So we're back with Alan. So Alan, in your life, I mean, what difficulties?
In my life?
Yeah, we could do a duet, Michael. So, how do you deal with it? I mean, does someone have to look at you? Can you look at yourself? How do you deal with the negative ego?
Oh, very, very painfully.
Poorly.
No, not poorly, painfully. Because dealing with that and confronting it and feeling your absolute vulnerability is a very painful and scary moment in your life. And I have been through that phase, and I know how hard it can be.
You didn't have you to help you.
No.
An outside you. Can you help you from
Yes.
being inside you
Well,
because of your gifts?
Because of the power that's inside me that will sort of go to work automatically for me in my life. And one thing that did occur for me is about a year ago, all of us, and it was right about this time, I just felt...
Everything happens around Christmas.
It really, yeah, it really does. I just felt this unbelievable sense of darkness coming up, and I said, what is going on? This heaviness, this darkness, this fear started coming up that I was quite unfamiliar with. Which goes to show you that even someone that does what I do, and for as long as I have done it, is still subject to these hidden things inside the psyche that we're not aware of. So I had to face all this, and it was my soul literally pushing all of this up to clear it, saying, Alan, it's time now. Pay attention to this. So this stuff started coming up, and before I could get it to break, it wouldn't break. It just felt thick and heavy and horrible, and I just would go to work on it. So one thing I would do is I would lay down, and I do this sometimes for hours at a time, and I would just sound. I would just go, ah, 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 feeling it where it was in my body, trying to get it moving. And after I did that for quite a while, it began to move. And I could feel that I was ready to break, and tears were ready to come up. But sometimes the tears wouldn't quite come on their own, so I'd go watch TV, and I just
That can make almost anybody cry.
And I just surfed the channels, you know, boom, 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 until I found something that evoked an emotion in me, an emotional response. It could be a line, it could be the dumbest thing in the universe, but it would hit me. And I'd just sit there and I'd just fall to pieces, and I'd moan, and all of these like prehistoric sounds would come out of me, and it was really awful stuff. I mean, I would be embarrassed to have that going on around anyone else, you know. And sometimes I'd lay there and I'd get real shaky, my whole body would shake, my legs would shake, my arms would shake. And this went on, off and on, for a very long period, over a 7-month period it took. But it cleared all the last vestiges of that negative part of my ego.
Now, why do you say last vestiges? Did you think it was cleared before that? I mean, or are you in for another shock, another Christmas time?
Well, you know, it could happen, and I don't discount it. I hope it won't.
But
it could, you know, and it coincided, incidentally, within my chart with the planet Pluto opposing my sun, and Pluto being the force of the unconscious coming up into the light, so all of this hidden stuff. So Pluto has gone past the degrees
so
of
you're
my
hoping
sun.
it doesn't come back for another 2,000 years or something?
If it comes back, it comes back. All well and good. I'll deal with it. It doesn't bother me because I've been through it. I mean, I know the game. But it's a hard thing to go through. It's not easy. It's an ego death, and the death of the ego is very difficult because so much of our identity, whether we're conscious of it or not, is based on our ego. Now,
what's a positive ego?
Well, we're going to get to that. But,
well, we only have a few minutes left, so
we'll get to it.
All right, good.
But the one thing I want to say about the ego is that within every ego is a victim. There's a victim inside every ego, someone who feels hurt and betrayed and clamped down and is angry and takes things personally. So a negative ego takes things very, very personally and will tend to overreact and has a hard time letting go and feels set upon and put upon and victimized and crucified that way. And a healthy ego doesn't. A healthy ego will not take things personally and is very good at setting up boundaries about what it will allow into its experience and what is not appropriate. And what is not appropriate does not get in. Bye. And the person with a healthy ego will walk away from abusive situations without getting involved. The person with a negative ego will get into abusive situations and react. The anger will come out. The fear will come out because that person has been hurt and abused before. So all of those emotions that are tied to the abuse will come out, and they'll duke it out, they'll engage, which only builds a negative inside you and makes you feel more of a victim by the time you've left. And sends tremendous toxic chemicals and messages surging all through your system, which is ridiculous. So the healthy ego has learned, because it's healed, that victim side not to engage. it walks away, it has healthy boundaries, and its perceptions about people and things are much clearer, much more accurate, and it sees with greater depth into the nature of people because different sort of veils have been lifted from the sight. So the healthy ego is now in a state to launch towards surrendered ego, where we can be connected to divine will and become expressors of unconditional love, which is where we all have to get. Unconditional love is the answer to the ego. But you don't get the answer until you solve the problem of the ego. You've got to convert the darkness into light. That's a transformational journey. Carl Jung said it this way. He said, transformation is not about seeing angels dancing in your head. It's about having the courage to confront your darkness and turn it into light. And he was right.
And would you say that in essence, what we consider darkness is not dark anyhow?
No, I would say it is.
It is dark.
I would say it is.
And how would you define it as darkness?
Because it's unhealed pain. It's unhealed anger. It's unhealed victimization, and that is dark. And it has to be lifted. It has to be transformed.
Would you say that's a misunderstanding?
I would say it's an illusion that we have invested heavily in.
So much so that it looks real.
Yeah.
And it feels real to us.
Because we're attached to it. We're attached to it. And as long as we're attached to it, it is real. How do you make it not real? By letting go of your attachment. And how do you let go? You have to heal. Until you heal, there's no letting go. And it is real until you let go. And then you can come up and look at it and laugh. But at the same time you're laughing at it, you're also gaining wisdom from it. Because the other side of pain is wisdom. And that which held you down is that which will lift you up if you heal it, which is the wonderful thing about it. The negative is the fuel for evolution.
Would you say also to look at yourself is also a way to have compassion, to know that, I mean, like someone like you, who's been so gifted and goes through this dark period, I mean, to know true compassion, you have to know suffering yourself, and that...
Yes, that's true.
And so for all of us, we all have crosses to bear. I mean, everyone in a human body, and it's like, which of us... And the more you know that that's the case, the more you can have true compassion.
Everyone comes into this life bearing a cross. And everyone's cross is different, but there are two main goals in every cross. One is success, that's the horizontal part of the cross, and the other is inner fulfillment and spiritual enlightenment, and that's the vertical part of the cross. In the West, we have focused for hundreds of years on the horizontal scale of success.
They're both part of the puzzle, but if you overdo one or the other, it's a short material leg and the short material.
And that's why we're so out of balance in our civilization, because we haven't pursued the vertical scale. We're babies at it. We're just starting now.
But you would say if somebody pursues that to the denigration of the other, that would also be out of balance.
Exactly.
So you have to have a three-legged stool.
Well, you need to solve both of those issues. What is success for you? Everyone will have a different definition. Success is relative. Not everyone wants to be or can be Bill Gates.
Right.
Okay? But the vertical scale is not relative. It's an absolute scale. Enlightenment is enlightenment. There may be a different paths to get there, but they have to produce the same result.
You have to have the experience.
That's right.
Right, it's experience.
And that's different, and that's absolute, and that's what we have to get.
Okay, well, I hope we all got a little more of it. So, well, we're winding down again, and it's just, again, it's been fantastic, and, I personally have had a wonderful experience, and I hope you did too. I'd like to thank Michael and Alan for coming, and again, whatever next step it is, whether it's Michael's albums, Alan's books, whatever we need to do to take the next step, it's time. We need to do it. Good night. God bless you.